Today's young professionals are prioritizing their golden years like never before. The average Gen Zer started saving for retirement at 22, compared to millennials who started at 27, Gen Zers who started at 31, and baby boomers who started at 37. Today I'm bringing on my longtime friend Daren Gartner, a veteran in the financial industry, to share his knowledge to young adults on making smart financial decisions as debt and inflation are on the rise. So sit back, relax, and enjoy today's conversation with Daren Gartner.
Welcome back. I'm here with a 10-year veteran in the financial industry, somebody I spent time with early in my career in a wireless startup leading PA, Delaware, and New Jersey. Now we're back in Colorado. My friend, Daren Gartner, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
When you think about your career as a financial advisor, what inspired you to go that route?
My wife,
Yeah.
for sure. I remember I was like playing Skyrim or something with my feet up, and she's like, didn't you used to be like a sales guy or something? You gonna get a job? And I think I had applied within a week of that because I was like, I want to make a life with this person.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably the greatest launching pad to me thinking about my financial future. Even though I knew a lot about finances in college and stuff, I wasn't really engaged in that until I paired up with Jesse, because I couldn't really see past my own fingertips for the future until I was like, all right, I'm gonna make a future with somebody.
Yeah.
So that's rough advice, right?
Yeah.
Go get married.
Yeah.
But I guess for me, I just needed that purpose.
Yeah.
And then from there, it was, I wouldn't say it was easy, but the decision to work hard was easy.
Yeah.
Like, I need to do this. The work was difficult, but when you know that you have the capacity to do anything, once you get off that fence, the universe just kind of conforms to your aid.
Right.
And it was Jesse that pushed me off the fence.
What do you love about your career today? Now you're 10 years in.
Man, I walked to my office, which not everybody can set that up, but just by luck. So that's a beautiful thing. I can walk home for lunch. The people that I have, I love.
Yeah.
Like, they're like family now. So it's just such a cool thing. And then they send their family to me, and the future is bright, man. And I think staying optimistic has been like my superpower, because it's easy when the market's down, and I can wake up at 2:30 in the morning and be like, what am I? Is this the right advice that I'm giving? And it is. Yeah. You just have to have this faith and this optimism that the future of capitalism will persevere. Yeah. Because what's the alternative? Right. Like, we're all going to be on the curb if this thing doesn't work out. So you might as well invest and think about the future in case the world doesn't end like it hasn't so many times, you know?
Absolutely.
I feel like I'm smuggling a hamster here.
What are some of the most common financial challenges that young professionals face today?
Yeah, I mean, figuring out how to save.
Okay.
Right? It's never going to be about how much you make. That helps. But if you can't figure out how to live inside of like 70% of what you bring home after taxes, it's going to just be more and more difficult, because your income at some point is going to drop off. That's the whole idea. Well, I mean, you can have a different tactic, like what you're doing with property and that sort of thing, where that income perseveres while you're not working. But for most of us, if you don't figure out how to shrink up your fish tank that you live in, you're gonna have a hard time pulling back. It's easier to not have punched the gas pedal. And the thing that I see the most is, you get out of college, you struggle, you finally get that high income work that you've been working so hard for, and then the first thing you think you need to do is spend it, or get yourself a nice big house or something outside your means. Because the salespeople, we're always going to try to upgrade you, right? So you go in for that truck, you're like, I just want leather, and then you walk out with the foot thing coming out of the door.
I told you that.
And so everybody's got that going on, and if you're really going to spend every dollar that you bring in, and this is where like budgeting.
That was one of the other questions I had, is how important is it for a young professional to create and stick to a budget?
Well, who's got the time? and the brain power after you've put in 10 days or 10-hour days to put this list together, right? It's tedious, and I don't think it's very accurate. Now, if putting a budget sheet, doing it at least once, will show you what you're spending all your money on.
Yeah.
Right, and that'll help. You're like, I don't even watch HBO now that I've watched Sopranos 3 times.
Yeah.
So like, you can figure out what you don't need. But really, what you want to do is kind of trick yourself into like, this is all the money I have. I made this much, but I'm getting this out of my line of sight and putting 20% towards my debts and 10% towards my future, paying myself first.
Right.
And then if you could figure out how to live inside that 70%, and when you sit across from somebody making $250,000, you're like, that should be easy, but it's not, because we don't know what we spend our money on. And if you do a budget sheet, it's going to look like you spend $4,000 a month.
Yeah.
And then I'd say, all right, well, I know how much you make, so you're saving about $50,000 a year.
Yeah.
And you're like, no. Like,
Where's it going?
Yeah, then you're spending it.
Yeah.
So if you can, to answer your question though, start saving right away and invest it. Well, once you got your emergency fund taken care of, 3 months to 6 months worth of your living needs in cash, and having enough cash on the sideline is also super important too.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you is like, what are the solid components, or what are the key components of a solid financial plan for somebody early in their career?
Cash,
Okay.
emergency, right?
Yeah.
Because if we're looking at credit cards as our way to pay for our emergency, which a lot of us do, you just shifted your emergency to a 26% credit card.
Right.
So that first bit of that savings is every month, right? Don't think about chunking in, but just you get a paycheck and it's $6,000. Think about putting 600 of that every month into a high yield savings that you have quick and easy access to. So not having that cash backup is, because it's going to hit the fan.
Yeah.
Things are going to change, and not looking at that cash backup as that's my vacation fund. Trick your mind and get it away from your bank account. If it's all in this pool and you're like, I think there's $3,000 there for emergency, go to a brokerage, go to another bank, just move it away and have it do it automatically so you don't have to think about it. But that saving and reducing the spending in your life, it's going to be hard once you start making big bucks and you want all that cool stuff. But really, you get that dopamine hit by buying it, getting that present that you bought yourself in the mail, opening it up, playing with your toy for a minute, and then it goes in the pile of other Chinese stuff in my garage.
Yeah.
And then you just spent it. You're never going to get that back. Because if you're like me, I don't try to resell my stuff.
What do you feel are some common mistakes that maybe young professionals make when it comes to their finances?
Yeah.
Early in their careers.
Well, one thing is reacting to the market. So if you are in a place where you're putting money in, and there's so much information right now that you don't know what to believe, right? And like truth now and information is, marketing is our #1 export in this country. We're brilliant at marketing. So you go online and you're like, oh, gold is the thing, or crypto, or this, and I got to put all my money in that because I believe this one thing, or there's a famous person that's promoting it or something like that.
That's why diversifying is so important.
Yeah. Well, and talking to somebody else about that. Don't try to go into it by yourself.
Yeah.
Get somebody who is studying this. It's not as expensive as you think, and just having somebody else tell you that, ask you, how precious are precious metals? Yeah. What is between the price of Bitcoin and the floor right now? Why is it, or what's keeping it up anyway? Right. And so not getting quality, making knee-jerk moves, not investing in quality, meaning Amazon is still dropping off stuff right now. And so not having enough cash on the sideline, not investing in quality, and making knee-jerk moves in and out of the market based on what the news is telling you. And the news has got a different job now. Their job is to keep your eyeballs on the screen. The best way they can do that is to just fill you full of fear. So reacting to the news, if you can, just do the opposite of whatever the news tells you. You're going to be better off. I'm serious.
let me ask you, what are some strategies for young professionals when it comes to saving for retirement?
Well, first of all, you have to put into your 401k if they're matching. Any matching program, if you're not doing that right now, go do it on your computer right now.
Okay.
There's no institution that's ever going to match you except your work.
Yeah.
Right? I would go broke if I was matching people's contributions. That's 100% gain on your investment right there. So you have to put into 401k matching programs and try to do Roth if they'll let you match into Roth. And then dollar cost averaging though. Set something up, set it up small with your broker that I'm dripping into this account every month. So that starts a pattern of behavior that is saving. You going from being a broke ass to being a high income earner, then to a saver and start putting that away, and then to an investor.
Got it.
Having a pattern of saving as a behavior, and that will naturally reduce your spending. Right. So you don't have to think, I got to get rid of HBO. What's that?
Yeah.
$15 a month.
Yeah.
The way I trick my mind is I've got this amount of income, then this big chunk goes to my brokerage.
Yeah.
Automatically, I have it set up. Everybody can do that. And then when I want to buy that next power tool or go out to eat, do something nice or something, I look at my bank account. I don't look at my brokerage account.
Right.
That is another entity. I don't even consider that accessible.
Right. So you budget within what you have.
That's all I have to do. I don't have to look at my budget sheet and say, oh, I spent 150 on going out to eat already. I can't go out to eat anymore. I have this magic line in my bank account. If it's above that, I do the thing.
Yeah.
If it's below that, I don't do the thing because I can't afford it.
Right.
That's what so you kind of impoverish yourself in your mind.
Got it.
I can't afford this.
Yeah.
I'm tricking my mind because I could get all the jet skis I want.
Yeah.
But I can't afford one right now because this is all I really have to spend.
Yeah. No, I like it.
Yeah. And then you just naturally reduce your spending. Your quality of life does not diminish because you didn't get a jet ski right when you wanted it.
Right.
You didn't go out to eat tonight. You probably have less stomach pain.
Yeah.
Now you're eating carrots and salad and loose meat in front of the TV, but at least you didn't spend $60. Oh, and kind of like how my dad used to say, never get a credit card.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's different now, but I just never did DoorDash.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I told you that earlier.
I'm tempted to.
It's killing me.
I'm tempted to because they make it so easy now.
Easy.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant on their end. On my end, I've got to use some self-control, and I don't need Chick-fil-A.
Dude, tonight. I delete and re-add the app like probably once a week.
Yeah.
So I got to find a way to get it off of there permanently.
And you've already created the path in your brain. It's there. So I'm like those little things. Like I'm not going to create the path. I don't have access to DoorDash.
I like it. So speaking of credit cards, right? I think I read a statistic within the last couple of weeks that said the average American is like $23,000 in credit card debt. I mean, it's high. Yeah. And so wanted to ask, like, how can young professionals balance, paying off debt with other financial priorities?
So same concept. And there's a good book that I think it's in the public domain now, but it's like The Richest Man in Babylon.
Okay.
I just bought 3 copies to give away to younger investors.
Okay.
But it's a quick read, and it talks about the phenomenon of savings. And in that is that 70% you ought to be able to live off of what you bring in.
Okay.
Whether you're changing oil or you're a doctor, right? Yep. Figure out how to live, and 20% of that goes to your debt.
Got it.
So pay more than you can. If you've got $23,000 in credit card debt at like 20%, there's another issue here. There's a behavioral issue that you're living outside of your means.
Right.
So rather than like you get an inheritance and pay, or you do a refi on your house and pay off that debt, is that debt gone forever? That debt is, but your behavior pattern is still there.
Right.
So what I would recommend is, 20% of your income goes towards your debt. So you keep feeling that debt, and when you see it go down, you're gonna have to change your pattern to paying off that. You keep using your card, because you get those points. But I can go on to my statement and say, here's my last statement balance. I owe $3,900. I can pay that part off and leave a little bit of balance in there. But I use my credit card like a debit card.
Yeah.
And I don't have any more than that magic line in my bank account allows.
Right.
So I won't spend any more than I think I can pay off this month.
Right.
And if I can't afford it, I just listen. I hear my grandpa in my head, but you don't get it.
Yeah.
That generation, they wouldn't have gone out and they wouldn't have taken a trip to Chicago on a credit card.
Yeah.
And like, oh damn, now I'm 7,000 in debt.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just have to work a little bit harder, and my wife wants some more jewels or something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get her those, and it just can rack up so fast that that debt piece is hard. Don't worry about your home. You know, I don't know, unless you're in like a 9-10% mortgage, something like that. If you got in a mortgage and your credit's not great and you got into it in the last year or two, then maybe you think about paying that guy off early or just holding back to refi when the interest rates are down. But if you got, what did you say your mortgage was? 3? 3. Yeah. Don't worry about paying that guy off. You should be investing and making your payments, but that's token debt. Get out of your credit card stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in investing, you're going to do better. You got to do better than your debt, right? And if you're investing over here and it's getting 7%, and over here you have a 26% debt.
Yeah.
Now I wouldn't take all of that and pay that off, because your behavior is going to repeat itself if you don't make a conscious decision to not have credit card debt like that.
Yeah.
So it's not easy, but if you can avoid if you can start using your credit card like a debit card right away, it's not how our culture cues us up to live.
Yeah.
But don't let the credit card be be something that like, oh, just this is the cost to live.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot. It's like, it's just, if you're gonna live in America, you're gonna have to pay 26%.
Yeah.
For your jewels.
Yeah.
Well, how many jewels do you need?
Yeah.
But everybody's got to, I talk about it like it's easy, but I just don't have a lot of need for a lot of like nice stuff.
Yeah.
I like I have a nice guitar and some nice like woodworking tools, but other than that, like I mean, this is probably all secondhand, and my cars are cheap and I walk to work. Yeah. But I'm happy. Yeah. So
and it's like that,
make you happy.
And it's kind of like that book Rich Dad Poor Dad that everybody's read. I love when it talked about the watch, right? Yeah. And the Rolex versus the cheap watch, and usually it's the guy with the cheaper watch that's the actual millionaire.
If I showed you a lineup of 5 people, and like on my clients, I'd say pick out the one with the highest net worth. Yeah. Well, knowing now that it's going to be the guy with the crazy beard, you'll pick him. But if I caught anybody else, they're like, who's got the highest net worth here? Yeah, they pick the lady that's dressed to the nines. Yeah, but I have to have more difficult conversations with her than I do with my guy with the crazy beard.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Hey, so I did want to ask you, like, what do you feel are the potential benefits for somebody earlier in their career or young professional beginning to work with a financial advisor? Because I know for me, when we started working together, that was a long time ago, right? Yeah. And, obviously, I think our relationship over the years, there's a lot I've pulled away from it. But I think I would have been scared to jump in had I have not had a buddy that had gone and, pursued a career in it.
So we knew each other for a long time. We climbed mountains together. So it's like easy for you to say, hey, tell me more about what you do. What do you do for your clients? But for somebody else who's just out there, doesn't have a friend in the financial biz, ask the smartest person, your friend who seems to have most of their stuff together. Like, who do they use? And if they just
I always found leaders at work that were just high up.
A
lot of times, like even our CFO at one point in time,
they're not going to be doing it themselves.
Yeah, you're right.
And having somebody that studies this is going to clear up a lot of the noise, because we're getting a lot of noise online. Because if you just type in, how do I invest? Yeah. Marketing for days. Yeah. And so finding somebody, and there's a heck of a lot of Edward Jones offices in every neighborhood in the country that just walk in and say, like, and for me, like a new investor, I might say, I don't know if you need my level of service right now. You just need to start dripping into an index fund in some platform cheaply. And then once you get to you got 25,000 saved or something, then we might start talking about planning. But either way, talking to somebody and just getting somebody to tell you where you're at and that this is quality, be wary of this you only want so much of, that's going to cut down on, especially, I can't imagine if I was a mechanic and I own my own mechanic shop and I'm in my basement wondering what to do next. If I just go onto some website and click start, like, I don't know if I just did the right thing.
Right.
And you're going to pay a little bit more going through a professional. You could do your own dentistry too.
Yeah.
You can look up YouTube videos on like how to fill a cavity, probably.
Yeah.
But like, how much capacity do you have?
Right.
I'm going to get really good at working on cars as a mechanic.
Yeah.
And really, I only have so much bandwidth. And then when you go home, you're like, I'm gonna learn about stocks and bonds today.
Yeah.
Well, the learning curve is it's huge. I could fix my car, maybe.
Yeah.
Through YouTube videos, but
so it's just getting that expertise. And like, I know the thing that I enjoy is just being able to call you and say, hey, what do you think about Bitcoin? You know, or like, hey, I'm thinking about this with my property.
Yeah.
It's that partnership
Sounding
that
board.
I've appreciated along the way.
Yeah. No, that's where I think I get the most thank yous, is just also listening to that situation and me saying that you're doing the right thing, or here's maybe something I would be doing a little bit differently. Because like I said, you can invest on your own, but you're not getting another person to, and until the robots are, you know, we trust them enough to say, like, based on all my information, here's the best thing that you could do next.
Yeah.
You need somebody to tell you. And people, there's all kinds of research that doing it on your own, you get an average of like 4% over time.
Well, let me ask you, you know, we've talked a lot about, you know, having a financial advisor and some best practices around saving. We haven't talked about credit. Mm-hmm. What advice do you have for young professionals that are looking to build or improve their credit?
Yeah, so you can get this information pretty easily on like what parts, there's like a pie chart on like how my credit is affected. And you want to not incur debt on your credit cards, but you want to keep a little bit in there. Like, they like to have a little ankle deep water in your credit. So I only pay off that last statement.
Got it.
You know, and that builds up credit over time, making all of your payments on your house, never missing that. And then don't be afraid to borrow on low interest. We were talking about this on the walk-in. Like, if somebody were to give me $10 million loan at 2.6%, I'd take it right now. I'd figure out what to do with it, and it would be, you know, we would do better than that interest rate. But if you're, mostly don't get yourself into debt trouble. And that's easy to say while we're sitting on this rock right here. But
I mean, average American's 23, I think, thousand is what I saw.
Yeah, I mean,
Crazy.
I remember the last time I looked, that might have been like 2015, where it was like 8. So it's going up. And I have my own theories on why they don't teach us this sort of management in high school. Because, I mean, you know, Visa's making a lot of money on each transaction, and you being in debt is keeping them afloat. And we invest in Visa, so I'm riding the coattails on all those people that are paying those high interest rates, of course, but you know, you can do it in a smart way. And then, so to keep your credit going, I wouldn't be the best person to talk about like how the great ways of rocketing your credit up, but paying off loans and not incurring that credit card debt, rolling your credit card, and paying it on time. That's going to be the biggest, and not taking out too many cards. I think you can look at your credit once a year before it pings you, to my understanding. But again, I'm not an expert in building credit. So
what would you say, you know, are some potential red flags for young professionals when it comes to working with a financial advisor?
Oh yeah.
What should be looking out for?
Oh yeah. If you're under 55 and they're trying to talk you into an annuity, yeah, that's not for you.
Okay.
And there's plenty of like insurance companies that'll take you out to lunch and say this index annuity is for you, buddy. Yeah. You'd be way better off, and they're going to talk to you about risk, and you're worried about the market dropping and all that. And this product here, you'll always get this percent. But if you would have been in the market for that 20 years and then go to a product that is you're reducing your market exposure that makes sense. But if somebody's trying to sell you something complex, as before you're nearing retirement, if you're 15 or more years away from retirement, you don't need a complex product. Now, like insurance is a little different depending on your situation. If you need a whole life or something like that, those are complex, but they have a place for younger people. But keep it simple, man. Yeah. If they and if you don't if you don't know anything about stocks, you don't need to get into stocks.
Right.
You can be in a broad index stuff. So if you're with somebody who's like, oh, and if they're not willing to diversify you, if they're like, no, we could take all of your money and put it in this thing, then, and you're going to get 13% per year, some number that is way better than what you can get, some weird promise, be wary of that. Right? If they're not, if you look at your portfolio and you got 2 things in it, you could have 2 different mutual funds if your portfolio isn't that big. But yeah, if they're trying to centralize on one big thing, I hear horror stories of people like, I had 250 in my 401k, went to this guy, put me all in this private equity thing, sure it was going to do good, and then he went to jail. Also, I would look for independent brokers. I know some really good independent brokers. So this isn't a broad statement, but like if you, I think especially early on, look at a reputable company like Edward Jones. Because we've got a ton of oversight. Right. And it narrows our focus to sensible investing, but I mean, you want that early on. You can get a little weird on Robinhood or something later, but get yourself a nice, solid, diversified portfolio with somebody, and then do the weird stuff.
Right.
Like I was telling you, my buddy, he's just like, I just put 10 in this crypto. I'm like, all right, I got my fingers crossed for you, man, but you need a house. Don't look at anybody who's claiming that they can do a lot better than the market, or anybody who says they know what's going to happen next. Run away from them. Because nobody knows what's going to happen next.
Right.
And if you do, you're not supposed to act on it. Legally.
Well, hey, Daren, I really appreciate you joining me today for this conversation. It's fun getting out here. To our audience, thank you for tuning into this episode of Conversations. If you like what we put together today, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks with more exciting guests. Thank you.